Can everybody see this? Yeah, so this is your AC 102. These are all your lists. So if you look at session 6, not session 6, it's probably session 5. Nope, not even session 5. Where is it? Okay, probably not in there. Let me just switch my view to a student. By the way, has anyone gone down and looked at all of these things yet? Just So we will be doing a Agni next week. We're going to start with Agni. So please go through the Agni, because if you haven't done it, then we're going to talk about Ama, and everybody is expected to do an Agni assessment form. So please go through the, oh, here it is. There's the Agni Ama. So just go through Intro to Agni for the next class. I'll post the homework before next Sunday. So try and do it before next Sunday. So, you kind of, otherwise you'll be like, oh my God, Agni can be pretty hard, right? Right now you're doing all the fun stuff in Ayurvedic nutrition. From Agni, it becomes a little bit harder. So that is one homework. And here it is. Common kitchen spices in Ayurveda. What I'll do is I'll also put it in, the session 4. Right. Oh, session 3, sorry. It should be in session 3. Here it is, creating your Ayurvedic kitchen spices. That's the one, it's right here. So go through that, and also Ayurvedic spices. It says Ayurvedic kitchen, vegetable spices. So this Ayurvedic kitchen. So go through that, and if you have any questions, ask me. And hang on, see, I'm recording. Everybody can see this? So basically, what is a spice? Remember, in Ayurveda, something that is therapeutic can be more than a kitchen spice. This is just specifically, we're talking about kitchen spices. And if you're going to have a pantry full of Ayurvedic spices, then you want to have the whole spice, meaning you actually want to keep cinnamon sticks. You want to keep cloves. Please don't use powders. Powders are for people who don't know what they're doing. Honestly, if you have coriander seeds, have peppercorns, and then when you need it, you freshly ground it. So one of the things you could do is you could ground your masala, you could ground your spices, like let's say on a Sunday, and then they will, last for 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, ground your spices. And that way, if they're in whole form, then their prana, their nutrition and therapeutic power lasts for a longer time. The minute you powder it, it starts losing its efficacy. And I've known people, who've had spice in their kitchen for like 6 months to a year or 2 years. It doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't smell like anything. It's the same thing like the minute you start ground your coffee beans, it starts losing its aroma. So have you had instant coffee versus fresh ground? There's no aroma, there's no therapeutic, nothing. It's like cardboard. So same thing happens with spices. You want to have, for example, for a rose and lavender tea, for instance, you want to have pieces of roses or lavender as part of, you want to have star anise, you want to have fennel seeds, coriander seeds. And then what I suggest is get a little coffee grinder. So Walmart has one that sells for $12 or something. I don't know what they sell in UK, so I'm sorry. So get a separate one for grinding your spices. If you prefer mortar and pestle, do that too. I have a mortar and pestle. Then we just use a a blender, and we just grind our spices. When I say we, Atul grinds the spices once a week, and then we'll fill it in container. They'll last for 2-3 weeks, and then we'll do the same thing again in 3 weeks. Certain spices you don't want to ground them till you use it. For example, for my takra, for my buttermilk, or raita, or I dry roast cumin, so that must be dry roasted immediately. If you want to, so there's a certain, you always want to have it in seed form, in leaf form, cinnamon and bark form, fresh ginger and turmeric root powder. Okay, you can keep it, but please keep it in an airtight container, and do not in a little dark place. But you could also have fresh turmeric root in your fridge. Does it make sense? So you want them to be full of prana. I think this kind of is a little bit Dr. Priyanka went with it. So we want to use spices for digestion, assimilation, balanced and healthy Agni, cleanse toxins. Oops. Antidotes like cardamom in coffee. What that means is if you put cardamom in milk and coffee, it reduces the acidic effect. If you put ghee in coffee, I think they have a name for it. I can't remember what it's called. Where they put raw butter in coffee and everybody's drinking it as part of this new diet. So yeah, we've known this for forever. Like actually, if you go to Arab countries, growing up, I used to have friends from Afghanistan and Persia and so on in India. And if you go to their house, they would always offer you whole milk coffee with cream and cardamom. And it's absolutely delicious. And it's barely any coffee. There's a lot of milk and cream and cardamom and sugar. It's like a, sweet drink, honestly. But the idea is that it reduces the caffeine and acidic content. Obviously, you don't want to drink coffee, but if someone does, by adding cardamom or butter or whatever, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a name for it where people are putting butter in their coffee. You know what I'm talking about? We actually had a student who used to do that. For example, putting black pepper in yogurt or potatoes will, negate some of the negative effects. Garnishing, dressing salads. For example, raw food is not good for a lot of vata persons, but they cannot change that habit of eating raw salad in one day, even in 1 month. It'll take them time. But if they start using, let me just annotate that. If they start using hingu, which is asafoetida, plus olive oil, plus ghee, now, this will help somewhat negate the raw effect of increasing vata in salads for a person. Obviously, if vata is very unbalanced, you just want to avoid salads like nobody's business. But if someone is, they get a lot of gas and they're just not willing to give up their salads, at least remove, have fresh herbal salads just with leaves. And if hingu, olive oil, or hingu and ghee, hingu, olive oil, honey, trikatu make a great salad dressing. If you don't want to add trikatu, just black pepper, ginger, and pink salt. Hingu is asafoetida. Just to give you an example how spices are being used. We use it in everything. Buying and storing spices. Now, this is kind of, growing up in India, and Satya, I don't know if you know, we actually go to places and there's a spice market, and they're all very colorful. And, you go in there, you can start sneezing, you can smell all the spices from a long way. And you buy, and in India, you just buy them weekly. They will grind it fresh in the morning or something, and you can smell them, and then you use it and you come back. So here we have to buy our own spices, and we have to do. So do not buy anything in a cardboard packaging. If you do, no problem. The thing is, if it's already in a cardboard package, it's already lost a lot of its efficacy. But if you end up buying something, make sure it's in a glass container. That's kind of very important. If you don't want to spend money on a glass container, a plastic container is fine, but it's a second best. But you can get some, decent non-BPA plastic containers, as long as they're airtight, and please do not put them where they get light. So if you're putting them in a pantry, make sure it's in a place where there's not a lot of sunlight or there's not a lot of light. So glass container or airtight plastic containers, and the plastic should be non-BPA. Should not have been. Never put them in, you could also put them in jars, like cookie jars, clay jars, but never put them in metal containers. Why? What will happen if you put things in metal containers? The metal will start eroding into the, so don't put them in metal containers, right? And never, cardboard is just useless. So one of the best ways, if you subscribe to anything, like we get our cardamom from Amazon, from a company that's in Kerala. You can sometimes even get it in Indian store, and they're being sold in a aluminum foil packaging sometimes. Now, it's not the best thing, but at least it kind of has, because that's how it has traveled from India. So anyway, airtight container is best, and always buy seeds. So here's a way of how to have a longer shelf life. The minute it's ground, it's going to go stale. So ground your own spices as and when needed. Once a month, if you cannot do twice a month. Not only light, but you also want to avoid moisture and air. That's why we want to have airtight, dark, cool place. And spices don't need refrigeration. Any questions about that? I think already Atul has done how to cook with spices, so I'm not going to do that. This is not, we're not going to test you in Virya Vipak, we're just introducing you. Shujan, do you remember what Virya Vipak is, if you did this before? So Shujan has studied, Shujan and Satya are both from England, and Shujan has actually studied Ayurveda for 1 year, but it was a little bit long time ago or something. So we know you have 6 types of rasa. You have Madhu rasa, Amla rasa, Kattu rasa. There were 6 rasas, right? And then you have Virya. Do you remember what Virya is? Bulletproof coffee. Yes, Rebecca. Yes, I know. I mean, it was right on the top of my head. I just couldn't get it. I'm getting old. Anybody knows what Virya means? Anyone? Yes. So Virya is basically an energy. So these are the energetics of any herb or therapeutic substance. So in Ayurveda, when we say Ayurvedic herbology, that is actually an oxymoron, because Ayurveda is using rock and waxy things that are coming out of plant, and it's using parts of animals like the urine of cow, and there's things being used that are part of animals, like honey is coming from animal, milk is coming from animal. So animal substances are also, so it cannot be called an herb. Rocks are being used, minerals like salt, coral, dead coral from the sea, or for example, conch shell, or silver, or gold, or zinc. All of these things are being used as part of the Ayurvedic medicine. So I'm using the word therapeutic substance, but today we're talking about herbs, the plant-based portion of Ayurveda, right? So rasa, everything in this world, that we taste, that we put in our mouth, whether has a rasa. So there's 6 rasas. You already know that. So I'm going to leave it there. And the energetic, everything is either heating or cooling. And if you ever go to Ayurvedic practitioner level, you will learn about a few more videos than this. But for now, heating or cooling, everything is heating or cooling. Very quickly, is chili peppers heating or cooling? Is chili peppers or habanero peppers heating or cooling? Okay. What about coconut water, heating or cooling? What about yogurt? Yogurt, it's heating or cooling. Yeah. So yogurt may be cooling, but it is considered sour. So it is not that fantastic for pitta person unless it's homemade. So these are some of the things that we consider when we make an Ayurvedic herbology or Dravya Shastra, Dravya Guna Karma Vijnana Shastra. Anyway, Vipak is post-digestive effect that I don't want to talk about, but just to give you there is something called, you have an enteric nervous system, right? So if you really like something you eat, you can just rub your belly and say, oh, his tummy likes that, because your stomach likes things or dislikes things. Stomach has a different taste than what the taste in the tongue has. Tongue will taste sweet, sour, salty, bitter, astringent. All of them get metabolized into only 3 tastes. Sweet and salty have only one aftertaste. Aftertaste is what is tasted or by the stomach, you can say, because the stomach has kind of like, think of them as taste buds, because your enteric nervous system is in that area, right? So sweet and salty have sweet aftertaste. And then you have bitter, pungent aftertaste also. And again, this is something that we do in AC 108 and 107, but we're just introducing you to the concept here. You only need to worry about rasa in AC 102 and nothing else. And we don't even quiz you so much on vipaka. Just, you should know heating or cooling. You should know rasa. Okay? Let me see if Dr. Aparna is here yet. Okay. We know rasa. Have we done rasa at all with you guys? I can't remember. We've been running so many groups. Have we done what is rasa? What are the 6 types of rasa? Yes, no? Have we done the Shada rasa, the 6 rasas with you, with your group? Oh, we haven't? Lauren, you were absent a couple of times, right? Okay. Oh, you were not absent? Okay. Yeah, let me just write that down. I was wondering. Okay, Thursday. All right, so rasa. Basically, rasa is basically what something tastes on our tongue. So our tongue has these taste receptors. So portions of the tongue here's your little drawing of a tongue. So it has these little tongue receptors. And each taste is tasted in a different part of the tongue. And each part of the tongue that tastes different taste corresponds to an organ, which we, again, we talk about it in AC 107. If you want to talk about it here, we can, but I'll have to do it on the forums. Again, I'm requesting you to post your questions on the forum. I go on the forums every day to answer questions. Forum is a class discussion. So we do not have a class for 8 hours. We give you 2-3 hours of class, and then we expect you to discuss what was discussed in class in the forums. So if you don't put a question, you are kind of, you are not getting the best advantage of having qualified teachers. It's, if you're not interested in knowing, that's fine with us, but we are here to answer your questions. So please, whatever you're learning, put your questions on the forum. I log in every single day. And this group is not posting any questions, 0. So that actually makes my life very easy, but this is the way you keep the discussion going. Whatever is being discussed in class, discuss in forum, and then, the learning keeps on going. All right. So there's different parts of the tongue, and the different parts of the tongue taste different tastes. And there is these, of course, just under the tongue, you have this very rich blood supply. And on the tongue, there's little taste receptors. So when you put something in your mouth, there's information that is sent to the brain, and that tells you this is sweet taste or sour taste, astringent, bitter, and so on, right? And we call it rasa. And another word that you will hear us say is shad rasa, meaning the 6 rasas. The 6 rasas are Sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, astringent. This thing you knew, right? Because we've been talking about, for Vata person, sweet, sour, salty. So let's very quickly, what are the three tastes that are best for Vata person? Please put it in the forum, in the chat. And someone put the best taste for Kapha, and another person put the best taste for Vata. Very quickly, whatever you remember. One person put Vata, another person put Pitta, and another person Kapha. There's three tastes that are best for Vata, three for Kapha, and three for Pitta. What are those? Good job. Good job. Kapha is bitter, pungent. So these three are Vata, sweet, sour, salty. Pungent, bitter, astringent is Kapha. Very easy. The Pitta is combination of Kapha and Vata. So Pitta is, let me give you a new color. Let's say give you a blue color. Pitta is bitter and astringent and sweet. And this is P. So Vata is sweet, sour, salty. Kapha is bitter, pungent, and astringent. And Pitta is sweet, that it has sweet in common with Vata, and bitter, astringent in common with Pitta, with Kapha. So when you have a person who has a dual dosha, somebody who is Vata Pitta, so if you can give them sweet, sour, salty, bitter, astringent, right? Because it's Vata Pitta. If it is Kapha Pitta, you can give them bitter, pungent, astringent, and sweet, but avoid sour, salty. If it is Vata Kapha, now that's going to be hard, right? Because they're opposite tastes. So if it's Vata Kapha, you're going to give them a little bit of all tastes, all the six rasas, but you're going to give them in a warm way. Everything is going to be warming and heating. So the virya will always be heating. You cannot give cooling things to a kapha or a vata person. So for kapha, vata, virya and energetic is more important. Does it make sense? Has everybody got? That's pretty much the aim and objective what Shadarasa are. Yeah? So just like you know your dosha, everybody knows their dosha, right? So tell me what are the main elements that are like I'm a kapha, so earth and water are high in me. These are my main elements. Please write according to what is your dominant dosha. What are the two elements in your body in the chat? Shujan is earth and water, your kapha, okay. Evelyn, fire and water, your pitta, okay. Everybody, fire and water, so you're also Pitta, Rebecca. Satya, fire and water, Pitta. What is it? All Pittas here. Okay. Yes, but Lauren, I think I told you because it's summer. I don't know here where you are, but if it's summertime, your pitta is going to be higher right now. In fall and late fall and early winter, vata is going to be high. Pitta is going to be down. So even when you're dual dosha, one dosha is going to be a bit more dominant depending on the season. So here in Austin, it's like it's 100 degrees. It's in hundreds, 100, 101, whatever, 100 Fahrenheit, not Celsius. That's about like yesterday it was 38 Celsius and 100 something Fahrenheit, right? So it doesn't matter what dosha you are. When the temperatures are so hot and dry, everybody's heat is going to go up. And if you're a dual dosha, your pitta is going to go up, your vata is going to go down. Doesn't make sense? And when it is winter season and it's freezing outside, vata kapha are going to go out of balance no matter what your dosha are. So always one thing is more dominant. So I would say, I don't know where you are right now. Is it summer wherever you are? So let's go back and look at the rasas. So if you are fire and water, don't look at this just yet. I'm just going to hide this for a second. Oops. I'm kind of trying to hide this. Don't look at the red portion. all of you just look at the Mahabhutas. You know what your Mahabhutas are. You know what your elements are. I am Kapha, so I'm earth and water. So if you see the same element that you are made up of here, that's not good for you, right? So I am Kapha and I am earth and water. So this sweet earth and water is not good for me. So this is not good for me. What about earth and fire? Because it has earth, not good for me. Water and fire, not good for me. Does it make sense? Now, pungent is made up of air and fire. There is vata there, there's pitta there. This is good for me. Air and space is good for me. Why air and earth is good? Because astringent has more air and only slight amount of earth. Does it make sense? The earth portion is just the fiber. For example, in banana, the fiber portion is the earth, the unripeness taste is the air. So that's what it means. It's not, air and earth is fine for a kapha person, also for a pitta person. But I want you to say why these tastes are good for us, because the taste or the rasa is also made up of 5 mahabhutas. Make sense? So let me just erase this. Does it make sense based on, so a lot of you are fire and water, right? You're pitta person. So fire and water, sour thing has fire in it. Salty thing has fire in it. Pungent thing has fire in it. So this one is not going to be good for you, right? Air and space, air and earth and water is going to be good for you. Does it making sense? Why, what is good, what is not? Instead of trying to throw a grocery list at you saying these tastes are good for vata, pitta, kapha, I want you to understand why. And the reason I'm trying to do that is I have taught a lot of yoga teacher trainings as an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I kind of stopped doing it because this is what they do in a yoga teacher training, not in our yoga teacher training, obviously. They will just throw a grocery list with 10, 20 pages. Vata, all the food's good for vata. Pitta, all the food's good for pitta. And can any human being in earth just remember 40 pages of grocery list? It is impossible. So I don't know if you guys did a yoga teacher training, some of you are yoga teacher, and you got that kind of, you can't. Nobody can remember. You have to know why. So we have to understand Mahabhutas. In fact, the entire protocol for Ayurvedic nutrition is only based on Mahabhutas. If you just forget everything else, you are earth, do not eat earth. You are fire, do not eat fire. You are air and space, do not eat air and space. What is air and space? Raw food. For example, now let's talk about vata person. Here we go. So you have a vata person who is made of air and ether, or air and space. So air, not good. Air and space, the worst. Air and fire, the worst. Now, water, fire, earth, water is all going to warm and give hydration and grounding to vata person. So this would be good. Now, do you understand where we are coming from? The taste? Yes, no, maybe? So every taste is also made up of the dosha. Every taste is made up of Mahabhutas. Doshas are also made up of Mahabhutas. And I think this is something that I'm not going to do because, Dr. Priyanka covered this. One thing I will go, the rasa, now you know what this means. Every herb has a rasa. For example, rose is pungent and bitter. Turmeric is pungent, bitter, astringent. Cloves are bitter, pungent. Ginger is pungent, sweet. So just by looking at that, a cinnamon is pungent, sweet, astringent. Coriander is pungent. Now let's go back and look at gunas. What do gunas mean? Remember the 10 opposing qualities? Do you remember? And we did that in the last class too. And I said you have to know it on your fingers. The 10 opposing qualities are the 10 opposing qualities of earth and water. Earth is heavy, right? Earth is stable. So if something is sweet, automatically it is heavy and stable, like milk, like whole wheat, right? So these are the same gunas of the rose based on the Mahabhutas. Same thing. So in our dosha, it's based on Mahabhutas. In food, it is based on Mahabhutas. And also rasas are based on Mahabhutas. So these are the gunas. It is light and unctuous, meaning a little. Unctuous is kind of like slimy. I know it has a bad connotation in America, but it's a word that we Ayurvedic people in India, it's Indian English. It kind of like oily. That's what it means. You will say if it is light, unctuous, pungent, bitter, why is it good for Vata, Pitta, Kapha? Because when it comes to Ayurvedic herbology and Dravya Gyan and therapeutics, we do not consider rasa. We are considering something else, which you are not studying right now. So that answers your question, hopefully, before you ask. When we are considering food, what you're eating, rasa is very important. When we are considering making things into a dosage where you're going to take a little bit of dosage of an herb or an Ayurvedic medicine, then we are looking at karma and prabhava, and you are not going to be doing karma and prabhava for another 4 months. So we will just leave it at that. That's how it is. And of course, please go through all of these things. So you can see the guna, the quality is dry and light because it's pungent, bitter, astringent. Quality is light and sharp because it's bitter, pungent. Quality is dry and light because it's pungent, sweet. Quality is hot, well, its vita is hot. It's stimulant, astringent, expectorant. All of this is because it's pungent, sweet, astringent. So this is what these things mean. At this point, all you need to remember is go through what is the effect of rose. Rose is good for this. Turmeric is good for this. Cloves are good for that. For now, do not worry about anything else. I think she covered all of them. Yep, everything is covered. Here's a little homework. You're going to make a little churnam or powder blend for your own dosha. Please share it, a little photo if you can. Yeah, share a picture on the forum. If you cannot share it in the forum, because the forum will only allow a picture which is less than 2 MB in size. So you can also just Instagram it if you want. I'll give you our Instagram address. But yeah, try and use a picture which is less than 2 MB in size. And so you can either paste a picture, or you can just take a photo and paste it. You don't have to write about it. Either women support spice or vata spice, kapha spice, pitta spice, or tridoshik spice. Make some, spice powders based on all the herbs that we have talked about today. And then take a picture and post it. Is it all kind of falling into place now?